Are you planning to study abroad but you still don't know all the documents needed? So don't go anywhere, because that's what we're gonna cover in this video. Hi there, my name is Felipe and welcome to Route to Fluency. Every week you'll find here new tips on how to improve or learn a new language and everything you need to know about studying or working abroad. So if this is your first time here, consider subscribing and hit the bell notification so you don't miss anything. In this series of videos, we're gonna talk about everything you need to know about studying abroad. And today we're gonna cover all the documents you're gonna need. So if this is your first time planning a trip abroad, I recommend at least 6 months for you to prepare all the documents, because as you're gonna see today, the list of documents is huge and you're gonna need a lot of time and preparation prior to get all these documents. Before we start, I'd like you to tell us in the comments if you already know when you are going to travel, and if you already have in mind which documents you are going to need, and if you already have some of them. The first document you're going to need is the passport. And although a lot of people think that it is a mandatory thing to have a passport, for some countries you might not need to have a passport, because some countries have bilateral agreements and also they're in the same regional bloc, which allows them not to use a passport to travel around these countries, and they can use only the ID card to go in and out, so you better check it out, because if that's the case of your destination, you're gonna save a lot of time and energy. Nevertheless, the passport is mandatory for most of the countries, so it's always good to have one, because you never know which opportunity gonna appear and which country you will be willing to travel to. To get a passport, you're gonna have to apply at the institution responsible for issuing this kind of documents. The price may vary according to the country, but in the United States, more or less $106. Usually to apply for it, you just need your ID card to pay for the fee and some photographs. However, in some countries you don't even need the photographs, because they're gonna take it anyway at the institution. Another thing that is very important to mention is that if you wanna renew your passport, it's good to do it in the 6 months before its expiration date, because the majority of the countries won't allow you to travel within their period, or they won't give you the visa, because they prefer you to change and to have a new one. So if you are in that expiration date, just go ahead and renew it. After you renew your passport, it's always good to keep it with you, because some visas will continue in that passport and won't be in the new one. Okay, so now that you pretty much have your passport, it's time for the next step. And the next step is to take the student visa. But before we take any step further, it's always good to verify if you really need the student visa, because for some countries it's not necessarily needed. In order to study, for example, in Costa Rica, you just need to go in as a tourist, and at the immigration there, you can change your status to a student. So sometimes you don't need to have per se a visa before you travel, you just need to go and there you're gonna change your status. Okay, so the first thing you need in order for you to get a visa is actually to get the university's letter of acceptance, because without it you cannot apply for the visa, right? You need some proof that you're going to study. However, before you get the acceptance letter, you need to send the university a lot of documents to apply for the program you want. Now what you actually need to do is to fill in the application form of the university you want to apply for. It's always good to have in mind that in some countries, if you are going to stay more than 6 months, they're gonna ask you an additional medical exam form, and it's a little bit hard to get it. Might take some time, you have to go to a physician, and then you have to go sometimes to a special doctor, and it's just have it in mind, and it may delay all your process. So pay attention to this and really take into consideration when choosing when you want to go, because you're gonna need some more time if you need this medical examination form. Depending on what you want to do abroad, they may ask for additional information or additional documents. Let's say you want to go there to study a language, for example. So they probably gonna ask some sort of proficiency test like TOEFL, IELTS for English, HSK for Mandarin Chinese, DELE for Spanish, so it's always good to have it in mind. But if you're going to some university or language schools, they maybe give you the chance to do the test there. And then after you do this test there, they're gonna probably put you on the level that they see more fit. So my tip for you is, if you wanna go there and already go, to a high level because you wanna really improve your language, just try to take these proficiency tests at your home country. This way you're gonna have the time to really practice to do the test and get a high grade. Getting high grades, it's like no way they're gonna put you on a lower level. They're gonna put you on a higher level and you're probably going to enjoy and learn more. If your goal is to go abroad to pursue an undergrad or a graduate school, then these proficiency tests are gonna be mandatory. So always try to pay close attention to the minimum required grade of the institution you're applying for. Because to take this test, you have to pay for it, right? So prepare yourself beforehand and break a leg. If you're planning to study in the United States as an athlete, I really recommend you to take the SAT or the ACT. Those tests are like placement tests for the school better know where you should start at, which subjects you should start taking. So it's very important for you to take one of these tests and keep an eye on the minimum required grade. Because if you don't pass the test or if you don't even take the test, you won't be able to play on your first year, on your freshman year. And that might cause you some trouble if you have a scholarship. If what you're looking for is to go to the United States to pursue your undergrad there, it's not mandatory to take neither the ACT nor the SAT. Because when you go there to the university, they're probably gonna apply you a placement test, but if you wanna take the SAT, by all means, just take it in your home country. If what you want to apply for a graduate school, they might ask you for other tests. For example, the GMAT and the GRE for an MBA, or if you want to apply for a law school, they might ask you to take the LSAT, or if it is something related to health, they might ask you to take the MCAT. Before you forget, if you're applying for undergrad or graduate schools, you're also gonna need to send them your proof of highest education level, which means the diploma and the transcripts. Bear in mind that when I'm talking about these documents, you should have them in original, in copies, and the translation. Some countries accept English as kind of universal language, so if your transcripts or diploma are in English, the chances are the school will accept it as it is. But if not, you're gonna have to translate them. For graduate studies, you're also gonna need some reference letters and your CV. Believe me when I say we're almost there. In some cases, schools might ask you to write a purpose letter, which pretty much is a letter telling the school why you want to study there, why their specific major, and you should, really reserve some time to write it. In future posts and videos, we're gonna cover everything you need to know to write a good purpose letter as well. Some countries and educational institutions also gonna ask you to send them your criminal records. Besides, they also gonna ask for your financial statement. And it pretty much can be your income tax or a letter from the bank. While some countries gonna ask you for an accommodation letter, which pretty much means if you're going to an institution or university and you're not staying in dorm, so they're probably gonna ask you for a proof of where you're gonna stay. So it might be like a letter or a form of your host family telling where you're gonna be and all their information. So finally, after all of this, you're gonna hopefully receive your acceptance letter, and sometimes they're gonna send you also a government statement or a government document as well. Like in the United States, they send the I-20, which is like a letter from the government and the university proving also that you're going there to study and you already took all the documents to the university or send it to them. So the next step would be to take all of these documents and go to the consulate to take your precious visa. If you think the list of documents is over, think again, because we also have a little bit more to cover. But before that, I would like to tell you that we're gonna put here down in the description the links for the tests and the price of some visas for you to have a notion of how much you're gonna spend, and if you want to take a look at the test, you can go down here and click on the link to see for yourself without the need to search all of these on Google. The next document we're going to cover is the vaccination card or the vaccination certificate, and for some countries it is mandatory, however for some others it is not. However, it's always good to have one, because I remember in 2012, if I am not mistaken, I was going back from Brazil to Costa Rica and I needed my vaccination card and I didn't know about it. So when I was about to embark, I found out that I couldn't travel, that I should take the vaccine, and that it would actually take 14 days without the possibility of travel, because that's the time they stipulate you will be, like, I don't know, with your immunization or something like this low, and you have to wait until you travel again. So to avoid all of this, just go there, take your vaccine, and be sure that you can travel everywhere, and always take your vaccination card with you. Most countries will demand you to hold a health insurance card, and most of the time it is included in the tuition you're gonna pay for the institution you're gonna go. So don't worry too much about it, just double check if it is, and if it is not, acquire one beforehand. Now that we've covered all the documents you must have, we're gonna talk about some documents that are not obligated, are not mandatory, but it's very good to have them. For example, the IDP, or the International Driver's Permit, which is gonna be very handful if you drive or you're planning to drive. Because, for example, when I was in the United States back in 2010, we were driving to watch Fast and Furious. So I think my friend got a little bit pumped up because we're about to watch Fast and Furious. So he was speeding a little bit and we got pulled over by the cops. When they saw his ID, his driver's license, they didn't want to allow him to continue driving, because it was in Spanish. Luckily, one of our friends had a US driver's license and it saved us a big trouble. However, suppose we didn't have a driver's license from the United States or any driver's license in English. Probably the cop will take us to jail and it's gonna be a big pain in the butt. So consider this, and it's always good to have, a driver's license that you can use in a lot of countries. So if you're interested in check it out, so I'm gonna put the link here for you to see which countries signed the international agreement. Also, to acquire the IDP, you just need to have a driver's license of your home country, and your home country actually needs to have signed on the agreement. And then you just have to pay a small fee. Another tip that's very useful is actually to hold on to an ID card of the country you are going if you can. For example, in the UK, they have like an ID for international students in order for them not to use the passport. Because sometimes if you lose the passport, it's going to be big trouble. So it's better, to pay like 15 euros to get this ID and be safe. In addition, it's always better to have an ID because it's gonna be valid in the country you are. Sometimes people say you can print your passport and it's gonna be safer. However, not all the institutions, and especially when you go out to bars or this kind of stuff, they actually sometimes don't accept like a printed copy or something like this. They want to see the original. So if your destination allows you to have this ID, consider having one. In countries like Italy, you are actually obligated to have like a permission of their own. And in my point of view, it's actually better because you have to pay a small fee, but you don't will have the risk to lose your passport. And believe me when I say it's better to lose your permission than your passport. Another thing that's very important to have is a folder like this, because in this folder you can put all the documents you need, because you already saw the list is very big, and you can organize them properly. And it's gonna be very handful and helpful when you go to apply for the visa, for example. Okay, so with your folder in hand and all the documents you need there, you have to double check it like 2 days before your trip, the day before your trip, and on the day of your trip. And it's very important that you double or triple check it, because you don't want to forget any of these documents in case you need them. And when I say this, is because I already forgot one document. I was going to the United States and I forgot the I-20, which was like, it's essential for you if you want to go to the United States and get in as a student. Thankfully, I had the tourist visa as well, and you know, I could go in as a tourist, but it was really a headache because I needed to wait for 2 hours in the airport because the police was verifying all the information they had, and then they gave me like a 30 days notice to send them the I-20. So I needed to go back to the university, talk with my advisor, and it was a little bit of hellish, you know. Therefore, avoid all of these and double check all your documents 2 times, 1 time, and on the day of your trip. I know, right? It's a bunch of documents, but in order to help you the best way possible, we've created a checklist. So if you want to download it, just head down here in the description and click on the link. So I hope this video helped you visualize which documents you're gonna need and to help you organize a little bit yourself. If you liked this video, give us a thumbs up and click on the button here to subscribe to Route to Fluency and receive our weekly content. Also, if you want to know a little bit more about us, go down here in the description and click on the link to visit our website. So thanks for sticking around this far, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.